What's going on, guys? This is Damien from The Lookout, and I am here with top 5 beginner decks for Masters, one in each color, because I see so many of you just jumping into the comments or into the Discord saying like, hey, we're new to Masters, we want to try it out, which is awesome. I'm so happy that a lot of you are discovering the better Dragon Ball game, and I hope that you're having fun, but I also figured, hey, maybe you guys need some decks to help you get going, and that's what we're gonna go over today. But before we begin this video, huge shout out to the Coffee Club, our lovely patrons. These are our $2 and up patrons. They buy us coffee, they keep this crazy content machine going, and guys, thanks a lot for your support. If you wish to join the Coffee Club, link to a patron is in the description below. And I think that's about everything. Roll the video! As with all of our videos, let's start with a breakdown. So, let's help you get started with Masters. I have 5 beginner-friendly decks. I have very specific criteria for picking these 5, which we're gonna go over immediately after this slide. I'm providing you with proxy sheets. So, if you wish to try out any of these decks and you don't have the cards, don't worry. Proxy sheets are provided. I'm gonna show you how to get to them, and you can just print out a deck and play. You can even play it at some locals. We will be talking about it later on in the video. And that kind of brings us to this point. Where can you play via webcam? We have a couple of webcam locals, which I'm gonna be mentioning. And then we'll just wrap it up with the summary, which I'm just probably gonna skip, and then we'll just jump to end screen. Let's go. Okay, so let's first talk about the criteria. Okay, so I have picked these 5 specific decks based on the following. How do they embody their colors? Because one of the most important things for you to understand is what a color does in this game. It's different than in Fusion World. Green isn't ramp, it's hand destruction. And I think that other than that, the other ones are actually the same, but we also have black and stuff like that. So, how do they embody their colors? Will you understand what the color does just by playing and trying out this specific deck? Budget. Yeah, definitely budget. Because if you're starting, you need some good budget options. Then, how beginner friendly they are to play. It doesn't mean much if the deck is super cheap and it perfectly embodies the color. If it's like Super 17 in green, then almost impossible to pilot properly. Are they up to date with at least one of the new mechanics? That means Z cards. Does it use at least one of the Z cards? Or at least a unison, even a normal one? So it has to be something that's relatively updated. And finally, of course, can you win games with them? Because winning games is fun. So, a deck doesn't mean anything if I provide you with a deck list that can't actually win anything. So, yeah. Anyways, these are the criteria. Let's jump into the first deck. For yellow, we have one of my favorite decks of all time, Bardock BT18. Yellow Bardock Screw. This is an amazing yellow mid-range deck. It basically revolves around Bardock and his crew members, and them becoming great apes, and there's a whole bunch of control. So what does this deck do? First, you swarm the board with cheap beaters. All of them are dirt cheap. Every single card in this deck is 1 energy. I don't believe there's anything in the archetype that you pay more than a single energy. You cycle through your deck lightning fast, because your leader says once per turn when you play a Bardock Screw card, you draw a card. And then you have Bardock Screw cards which draw a card when they're played, so you just keep drawing and cycling. Leader has a built-in removal. Yeah, your leader can activate main KO something in rest mode. So just free removal on the leader. You have a decent amount of control options, which yellow usually has. A various tool to just switch your opponent's cards to rest mode, to negate their skills, to put them into play in rest mode and stuff like that. You have a lot of good generic yellow cards in this deck, and the deck is dirt cheap to build. It's really, really very cheap to build. Let's check it out. Okay, I'm here with Deck Planet, the best deck builder in the world. So let's start. We're gonna make all of these deck profiles like 2 minutes long, just to give you a brief idea, and then you can just check any of the links. Links are in the description below, and check out the cards for yourselves. I'm just gonna give you a brief idea of what they do. In Bardock, basically once per turn, when you play a Bardock Screw card, you get to draw a card. He also gets to rest something so that you can KO a card. And then you basically have a whole bunch of cards that are either free or 1 energy. Bardock and Fasha both have this ability. For her is when you discard her, for him is when you play him. You look at top 5, you grab a Bardock Scroll card, cost 4 or less, or a Unison. You have your attackers here, the big monkeys. One of them is dual attacker, the other one is a double striker. Both cost 1 energy. Remember, when you play anything, you draw 1 card. You have this card, you can play him, he's a counter play, you play him in response to your opponent playing something, and then you switch one of his battle cards, cost 7 or less to rest mode. Anything costs 7 or less, as long as it doesn't have barrier. And because you do it on your opponent's turn, you've played a Bardock Screw card, you also get to draw 1 from your leader's effect. You have your Unison, which says whenever you rest a card, you draw 1. You rest with your Bardock leader's effect. And then the only expensive card in the deck is this one. You can get it for a couple of bucks. It's not too expensive. It's not prohibitively expensive. It's like $7 or so. Run 3, run 4 if you can and or want to buy 4 of these cards, and then the rest is just a bunch of staples. And then you have your Z leader, which is like an additional awakening for your leader if you're from Fusion World. And he's 20k double strike, and now he kills 2 cards when you switch one to rest mode. So yeah, you can check out the rest of the deck for yourself, and let's just jump now into the red deck. My red deck of choice for beginners is Red Androids. First off, the deck is super cheap. Like, the deck is, you can get it for like less than 20 bucks. Like, the deck is extremely cheap. 90% of it is from one set. You don't need any promos for it, so you can just get it like for very cheap, basically anywhere. You can open the entire thing from booster boxes. Anyway, what does this deck do? It's an extremely aggressive red deck. Like, this is aggression on steroids. So first off, he swarms the board with cheap and or free beaters, and you play multiple of them per turn. So you just get, from turn 2 onward, you get like 2 attackers per turn. Sometimes you get even more of them. And they usually have keywords like double strike, critical, something. You draw a ton of cards. It's incredible how much this deck draws, because you have what's a Z extra, which is basically a field card which allows you an additional draw per turn. You just draw like a madman. Your aggro starts on turn 2. It starts relatively tame, and then it just escalates. Like, it really escalates quickly from turn 2 onwards. You have access to the amazing Z extra and the Z battle cards. They either help you cheat out cards for free, or you just draw more with them. But it's really super helpful. You end games lightning fast. You should not go more than like 4 turns with this deck. It loses gas quickly, but if your opponent doesn't have a way to reliably stop you, you just win. And that's it. It's extremely budget friendly. It's super easy to play. Give it a couple of goes just to learn the various interactions within the deck, because there is still a lot to learn here, though it's very simple to play. However, it lacks budget defensive tools. The only real defensive tool is Explosive Dance, and that one is 10 bucks, 20 bucks per card, so I didn't include it in this build. But if you wish to run this build, you can get yourself an Explosive Dance. It really powers it up. Let's check it out. Red Androids are super aggressive. So, basically the entire deck revolves around this card. It's a Z extra. Imagine it like a field card. It says once per turn you place one red android or say an under it from your hand and you draw 1 card. Your leader allows you, when he's awakened, to KO an android 20 to play an android with the same cost as your energy or less from your hand and then give it barrier. And then you have like this Android 20, which allows you to play another Android when you kill him from beneath your field card. So basically you're just taking your field card all the time. You have Android 20s which you can play for free, and then they have some extra effect. Then you have Androids that you play out. You have like this one, for example, when you play him, when you cheat him out basically for free. Just imagine that all of these Androids, those which cost 3 or less, are basically free, and then the big ones are like 1 or 2 energy. When you play him, you draw 1 and he gains double strike. When you play her, you minus something by 20k and she gains critical. You can cheat both of them out for free. You can cheat these guys out for free. They're just skillless 20ks. And then you have your big finisher here. For 2 energy, you put 2 androids from beneath the basically field card. And then he is a 30k double striker, which minuses something by 30 when he attacks. And then you get to send him to the drop to play the 2 cards from under him. And then you get like 2 extra attackers. So basically that's it. You have like this Goku which plays himself, 15k, plays himself from the for free from your hand when you minus something. So that's another free attacker. And the deck is just all gas. Like, it's all gas. From turn 2, you just don't stop attacking. By turn 4, you've practically, if your opponent didn't have a reliable way to stop you, you just flat out won the game. My blue deck of choice is blue Beerus. So Beerus is ramp control deck with an alternate win condition. He might not be the most obvious pick for a beginner deck. He doesn't have an archetype on his own. He's a bit expensive, but I managed to make a budget version of it. But he does something that blue does, and that's energy manipulation. That's why I picked blue Beerus. Plus he's very good at the moment. So what does he do? You ramp energy like crazy. Like, trust me, in this deck, you can charge 5 energies in 1 turn in active mode. Yeah, you can charge like 1 for the turn, and then you can charge, let's say, 4 more. You have cards that just ramp you by 4 energy, inactive. So basically, you just run to 16 energy. Because your leader has the ability, activate main, pay 16, you win the game. And the rest of the deck is just defensive tools. Just everything meant to buy you time to get there. You have access to some of the best generic blue cards. You have very strong boss monsters. So if you don't get to 16, you at least get to beat your opponent with your big boss monsters. You have a Whis that just flat out buys you an extra turn. That's his ability. And you can just chain him. Like that's pretty crazy. The only problem is its best cards are quite expensive. There are some cards that I have left out here because they are quite expensive. And the budget build that you will see is okay. It's gonna get the job done. It's gonna introduce you to the deck and you will be able to win games with it. But it's far from optimal. Let's check it out. Blue Beerus. Okay, first off, it's not an optimal list. Like I wrote, it's not a fully optimized list because blue generic staples can be expensive. So we're just playing around it. You can build the entire thing for like $63, probably like at least 30% less if you buy it off of someone. Basically, this is a ramp deck. And if you're from Fusion World, well, you know ramp. Basically, what the deck does is your leader has the ability to pay 16 energy as activate main and win the game. That's what you're doing. Because you're just ramping, you are using your Z Battle card Whis. When he's played, you ramp 1 card from the drop into the energy and rest mode. And basically everything revolves around this Vegeta. For 6 energy, when you play him, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. You can charge any amount of mono blue cards, mono blue cards in active mode from those 4 into your energy. You can charge 4 in active if you wish to do so. The ones that you don't charge, you just add to your hand. So basically you're just chaining these Vegetas until you get to 16 energy. The rest of the deck is just made to help you survive until then. You have this Whis, which is incredibly funny. When you play him, he costs 12. But when you play him, you take another turn after this one. If you can chain them, once you get to 12, you can get to 16 very, very fast. Then the rest of the deck is just made to stall. Like you have this Vegeta, which says negate the attack, and then for the rest of the turn, when your opponent attacks, they need to sacrifice an energy. That shuts down the entire attack, the entire turn. And all of the extra cards are made to just negate attacks and keep you going. You have the SCR. This is the only deck with a secret rare that I'm recommending, and that is Baby Hatch. If you have 3 or more energy, for free, negate the attack, and then your opponent can't attack anymore this turn. So, yeah. For free, you shut down their entire turn. Let's say you're on 15. Okay, your opponent swings Baby Hedge. Turn shut down, pass turn, charge 16 energy, pay 16, I win the game. So, yeah, that is basically Beerus. Green was a very tricky one. Yeah, green was tricky. Because green is not very budget friendly at the moment, and it's kind of changing what it wants to do a lot of the times. So I've decided to go with one of green's best aspects, hand destruction. So Cell Reboot, a hand destruction deck. Also, you can buy this deck. You can buy a lot of its pieces. It's called Ultimate Deck 2022. You're not going to be using like 50% of the deck that you buy flat out, but you will get some pieces. What does it do? It discards cards like crazy. Like, it really, for free, you can discard like 3 cards per turn. Not for free, for a single energy you can discard 3. You draw a bunch of cards. Your leader draws 2 when he attacks. And you have a lot of other effects that just draw or tutor for other cards. The leader has a built-in removal. He can KO anything. Not ignoring barrier, but he can KO anything on the field. Your leader also has critical. He can become a 20k critical leader when he uses his activate main. He can become even bigger than that. You play the best unison in the game, which is Bardock Paternal Unison, which removes cards from opponent's combo area, so just flat out denies them combo just by existing, and then also discards cards from hand. You have a lot of ways to further buff your leader, so more often than not he's gonna be 25k crit, or he's gonna be 30k double crit, or 35k double crit. There are a lot of ways to buff this thing. The only problem is that it doesn't focus on any new mechanic. The closest thing that you have in this deck as a focus to a new mechanic is a unison. And we now have Z unisons, but they basically function the same way. You will have a Z leader, you will have a Z extra, but the deck won't revolve around them. They just kind of exist there. Let's check the deck out. Cell. Cell is a hand destruction deck, which is the best mechanic in card games. You just ruin your opponent's hand and their deck and basically everything ever, and you just draw cards like a madman and laugh. So what does Cell do? He puts cards underneath himself with some of the cards and with his effect, and then he gets to remove 2 cards as activate main from under him, KO anything, gain plus 5k for the turn, get critical, and then when he attacks, he draws 2 cards. So that's basically Cell. You know, he's a big crit attacker which KOs something and then draws 2. You play a bunch of androids which cost 1 energy. A lot of them have this effect, activate main. You just place it from the field underneath your leader so that you never run out of cards from beneath Cell. You play, let's say, this one, who when you play him, he tutors top 5 and grabs you any android. The big thing is this Cell, which says if you have Android 17 in play, only Android 17, you pay 1 energy, you play him from the drop, and then your opponent discards a card. You have your super combo, which says when you use a super combo, this one specifically, your opponent needs to bottom deck 1 card from hand. You have this Bardock, which says for +1 you KO one of your 1-cost cards, which are basically all of your androids, and then your opponent needs to discard a card from their hand. You have Towa, which is played for free and gives your leader plus 5k for the turn, and your opponent discards 1. So that's a free discard 1 above the leader, so he's 25k critical now. You have Android 20 here, who for 1 energy, when you combo with him, he gives your leader plus 10k and double strike, so you can just casually become 35k crit double, draw 2 KO something. And then you have this Cute little combo. If this card is underneath your cell and when you cheat him out with this card, your opponent discards until they have 3 left in hand, and then you can easily rip the 3. So yeah, there's more to it, but you can check it out when you take a look at the deck. So, but basically, in essence, that's green cell. Last but not the least, and a bit of an unorthodox choice for those of you who play Masters, SSG Trunks. So this is a very solid mid-range black deck. Why did I choose Trunks? Because I think out of all the decks that we have now in black, this one does the best job at introducing new players to the game and to what black wants to do. Vegito is a very, very good choice. We now have an SS4 Vegito Xeno deck, but that one is expensive. Trunks isn't. So what does this deck do? It all revolves around the drop area and warp area manipulation. You send cards to the warp from the drop to play cards for free, and then you can get cards back from the warp into play and stuff. You can then mill your deck to send cards directly to the drop so that you can send them to the warp again. It's all like manipulation of these two areas. That's what black does in general. You have a lot of cheap / free plays, a bunch of them. I don't think that anything but a single card in the deck costs you more than 2 energy. Black doesn't like paying for energy. You never want to spend a lot of energy in black. You have an amazing Z leader, so you're immediately introduced to the Z leader mechanic. You have a unison, so you're immediately introduced to unisons as well. You have 2 really, really strong boss monsters, and you have a lot of good generic black cards. However, the deck really depends on RNG before it awakens, and RNG can sometimes really screw you over. And the deck is currently outshined a bit by other black decks. But as far as introductory deck to black goes, especially when you can print a proxy sheet, which is what I'm gonna show you soon, I think this one does a good job. Let's check it out. Last but not the least, guys, Super Saiyan God Trunks. So, what about this one? Well, on the front side, this is a drop / warp manipulation deck. So you self-mill and then you get to play cards for free. Basically, he awakens when there are 5 or more Saiyans in your drop. If you have 5 or more, let's say on 7 lives, you get to awaken on 7 lives. If you get on 8, you get to awaken on 8. You have your small package which plays itself from the drop or mills you cards and stuff like that. Let's say this Goten, for example, you just play him for 1 energy from your warp. That's it. And when he's played, he sends 3 cards from the top of your deck to your warp. Warp is, if you're from Fusion World, it's removed from the game area, basically. So you just play with your drop and your warp area. You get to Overwhelm, which basically allows you to play cards for free by removing your entire drop from the game. Then you have cards like this Goku, which brings a card from the warp, from removed from the game area, back into your hand so that you can play it again. You have Trunks, which just keeps filling your warp, and then you have the boss monsters, which is basically this one for 2 energy. You get to play him from your warp. So even if you accidentally send him there, the card is not gone. You just pay to when you play him. This is your boss monster. Then you also have another boss monster, which for 1 energy you play on top of the previous one. And then you have crazy stuff. You have SS3 for thwarting the Dark Empire, 1 energy, 25k double strike. Yeah. And then you have like Dark Broly's, which are 30k Overwhelm, so you play it for free and you send one of your opponent's cards to warp. You have your Floodgates, which prevent opponent from attacking multiple times. You have your SS Cumber, which can just send literally anything to the warp, like absurd card. And that's basically it, you get your big Z leader and then you start beating your opponent with it. So, yeah, that's Trunks. Okay, now that you have some decks, let's go over the big question. Where to play the game? So there are a couple of official and unofficial options. There's not a lot, but there are a couple of ones. Official, regional events, offline and online. Now, someone might come and tell you, Masters is that. Like, that's not true. In America, all regional events sold out. So yeah, even in Europe and other regions, we still get like 50 plus players if it's an online one. Sometimes we get close to 100. It all depends on rewards and the time in the competitive season, but there are always gonna be good player numbers at regional events. You have them both offline or online. Online is via webcam. That's usually how we play Masters these days, just through webcam, sometimes offline. Unofficially, you have two big locals. You have the Lookout webcam locals, which I host, and we run these every Friday. We stream them on Twitch, so you can check out the games on our Twitch every Friday. I'm gonna post the time and everything in the description, along with the link to the Discord. And you have Scrub Games webcam locals every Tuesday. Also, link is in the description. Both of these are beginner friendly. They're super casual. They're super beginner friendly. And most importantly, they're proxy legal. So if you're someone looking to just jump into the game, you don't want to commit yet, you just want to try it out, you want to test some of these decks that I have shown you, you can print proxy sheets, you can print out the entire deck. I'm going to show you how after this slide, and you can just bring it to the locals. Try it out. Have some fun. So yeah, go check out the Discords. Links are in the description below. And now, finally, let's talk proxy sheets. Proxy sheets. Okay, so Deck Planet, the best deck builder in the world, provides you with proxy sheets of each deck on the website. Every single one. Plus your own decks. So, I'm gonna show you a video demonstration on how to do this, but very briefly, what you basically do is you open a deck and you search for this little tab. You search for this on the screen. So what do? You choose a deck or you make one of your own. You find this, you hit export, you choose print, and that's it. You have a proxy sheet perfectly sized immediately. It's perfect for trying out new decks. It's perfect for printing cards that you're missing, or just like printing a bunch of staples or a bunch of various decks. If you don't have a deck and you saw like, oh, this guy won with SS4 Vegito, I want to give it a go, but I don't have it. Deck Planet export deck print, bam, there you go. Now let's take a look at a video demonstration of how this is done. Okay guys, to show you in practice how this works, let's say I sold you on the Bardock deck and you want to give it a go, but you don't have any of the cards, you just want to get yourself a nice proxy deck. Okay, so click export deck here. Just open this deck or any other deck on Deck Planet or build one of your own. And then just click on export deck, click on print deck. Then you're gonna get this window here. It's automatically in PDF and you get the entire deck as proxies. So you get a bunch of proxy sheets. They're perfectly sized for the cards. So you just print them out, cut them out, and there you go, you have a deck. Super simple. You can do this for any game on Deck Planet. Masters, Fusion World, One Piece, or Star Wars. One click, you can copy any deck. Doesn't have to be this one. If you see any other deck that you enjoy, open it, export deck, print, bam, proxy sheets. If you want to, let's say, print a bunch of staples, you can build them in the deck builder as a deck. You just fill it with a whole bunch of cards, whatever you want, and then the same thing, export proxy sheets, bam. So yeah, that's how you make proxies on Deck Planet. That's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below, which deck do you like the most? Have I convinced some of you to give Masters a go? Do you feel now more relief when you know like, okay, I can start here, let's try it out? So guys, let me know all of this in the comments. I believe that a lot of you are now testing out Masters, so we're gonna be having a bit more of these beginner guides as we are in between regional events, just to help you guys get going. And if you want to play, go check out any of our Discords that I've linked in the description below. But anyways guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I read all of your comments, I try to respond to everything. I love our little community. And while you're here, share the video, it helps out others. Hit those like and subscribe buttons, it helps us get to 6k subs when I'm gonna give away a booster box. This has been Damien from The Lookout, and I'll see all of you in the next video.